Good morning, everybody. It's early, I'm underslept, but damn it, we're doing a video. This is the bonus video, number 1 of the Lucid Dreaming Firehose, all about sleep hygiene. This is not going to be a normal spiel. What I'll do is I actually have a document that I made for a friend of mine who was having trouble sleeping, which we can all relate to, I'm sure. And so she asked if I knew anything about how to sleep better, and I said, do I? So I got to writing, and about 5 hours later, I finished this document and had so much fun with making it. And you'll see why. It's in-depth and comprehensive and wacky. And I'm just gonna read it, and I'm gonna try to make it sound conversational enough. Hopefully you'll enjoy my cadence. But I will also have a link to the PDF below, which you are welcome to use anytime for reference. So it's called Keep On Sleepin' On, The Art of Sleep Hygiene. Good morning, sleepy person. As promised, here's some basic info about sleep and sleep hygiene. I've been a fan of neuroscience, sleep science, dreams, and good old-fashioned sleeping my days away since I can remember. Hopefully this is at minimum interesting and at maximum quality of life enhancing. Bear with me on the dry info at first. It's all to serve the cause. Why do we sleep? Suffice it to say that our modern science is still pretty in the dark about why sleep evolved in the first place. It seems that something so costly would not have made it so far along in the evolutionary arms race. Losing consciousness for extended periods of time, foregoing food, mating opportunities, and making oneself a sitting duck for predators doesn't exactly compute as an effective survival strategy. There are many theories out there for how the phenomenon of sleep got off the ground, but for the purposes of this email and this fire hose, we can relegate that to another discussion. Either way, proto-sleep provided some kind of benefit to its practitioners as compared to those who chose to run the candle at both ends endlessly. It is now one of the most widespread psychological phenomenon in the entire world. And as anyone who doesn't sleep enough or at regular intervals can attest to, not getting the proper amount of sleep is disastrous to the health of an animal. And the body will ensure that it happens, even at the risk of endangering the animal's life. What comes to mind is animals falling out of trees because of exhaustion, or the classic falling asleep while driving scenario. Please pull over and go to sleep. You will be happier, we'll all be happier. Clearly, sleep is vital to healthy functioning. That last bit about pulling over was an addendum by me. I will be adding comments because there's no way I'm not adding comments. It's way too tempting. Here's what happens when we conk out. There are 4 stages of sleep and one bonus stage called REM. Cue music. Just kidding. Copyright. Understanding these stages can help improve the quality of your sleep, help you customize a nap routine that won't make you feel worse than before you lay down, and even exploit its transition periods to have wacky dreams. Sounding familiar, isn't it? Here's a summary. Stage 1. That drowsy and suggestible state we get into just as we're drifting off. Attention is brought inward, body starts to relax, breathing slows, heart rate slows. Hypnagogic activity. You ever kick suddenly when you're falling asleep? This is called hypnagogia, and it's an amazing source of creativity. That is liminal dreaming. If you want to look up liminal dreaming, that is an awesome tool as well. There's a great book on it. I forget the woman's first name. I'm pretty sure her last name is Lambert. She is great. I've seen her live. She's hilarious, very knowledgeable. Definitely check her out and her book. Brain waves change from beta and gamma, which is irregular awake mind, to slower alpha waves, meditation, or calm and focused mind. Stage 2, the first part that we would actually consider sleeping. Outside stimulation no longer has meaning for us. Body relaxes further, breathing enters long regular patterns, heart rate drops even more. Memory consolidation begins here. Between 45 to 50% of sleep happens here. Brain waves move into theta, longer and slower than alpha, akin to deep meditation. Stages 3 and 4, and there's an asterisk up here saying these 2 stages are now technically considered as a single stage, stage 3. Previously they were distinguished by the frequency of delta waves, but are basically 2 levels of the same process. Makes sense, so I'm all about efficiency. Clearly. Almost completely unresponsive to outside information. Body very relaxed. Breathing enters even longer and slower patterns. Memory consolidation continues. The body's parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest, or rest and reset, as it's often called as well, is fully active, restoring the body and brain from a long, hard day's work of typing heady emails and reading them into a camera. Approximately 20% of sleep occurs here. Brain waves move into delta, the slowest and longest brain waves, glacial brain waves. This is where night terrors, sleepwalking, and sleep talking generally occur, and is typically when the gnomes come out to hide your car keys. Yeah, they're fun. This stage is very difficult to wake up from, and if you are awakened, you will likely feel very groggy and out of sorts for about 30 minutes before the brain catches up to its normal beta functioning, or alpha functioning. This annoying but avoidable phenomenon is called sleep inertia. And there is a way to avoid that, which we talk about later. Bonus stage, REM, sleep dreamland. Stands for rapid eye movement, so named because the eyes move about as if the sleeper were wide awake. Read Stephen LaBerge's book, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, and some amazing things they were able to do with eye movements correlating with lucid dreaming. That is a great thing to do. The brain is almost as active as if the person were awake. This is where the majority of dreaming occurs, lasts from 10 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on where you are in your sleep period, where you are throughout your sleeping night. Body is completely atonic, no muscle tone in the body other than those vital for functioning like heart and breathing, and curiously, the eyes. Gateway to the soul. Pretty much one of the coolest things to have ever shown up in the universe, especially lucid dreaming, which I can tell you more about. That would take up another email 3 times the length, or an hour and a half of me blabbing into a camera. The brain seems to need REM for processing complex new behaviors. Subjects woken up during the REM cycles the night after learning new tasks performed worse the next day on that task than those who were allowed to sleep normally through their REM cycle. If someone doesn't get enough, the brain will often compensate for it the next day or the next chance it has. This is called REM rebound. Cycles. These sleep cycles last on average about 90 minutes, although stage 3 and 4 shorten as one passes through the night and REM lengthens. Typically, people awaken many times through the night, despite someone reporting that they didn't wake up at all and therefore slept marvelously. People usually wake up several times and just don't remember it. Memory is very prioritizing. Often, one will awaken at the end of each sleep cycle. So it looks like this. Stage 1, 5 to 10 minutes. Stage 2, 20 to 30 minutes. Stage 3 and 4, 30 to 40 minutes. Then back up in reverse order, culminating in an REM period for varying lengths that increase as you progress through your sleep cycles. Why is this information relevant? Here's why. Nap strategy. Allow me to paint a picture for you. Oh boy, me painting pictures. Let me make sure I got this right. Allow me to paint a picture for you. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Let's say we have some time in between events in our day. I'll take a nap, we think, already feeling the relief in our bones from getting to lie down and snuggle ourselves into a peaceful place for X amount of minutes. But then tragedy strikes. We wake up to the sound of a vicious and cold-hearted digital alarm that's always just out of arm's reach and way louder than we set it to be. And we find our world off balance, heavy, and downright discordant. Why did I do that? We rhetorically ask ourselves. This always happens. I would have been better off just staying awake and drinking coffee, or smoking meth, or doing a 5-minute headstand to cover the full spectrum of healthy options for fast energy. Now our day is thrown off and we go on a rampage of negative associating until everything is further fuel for why our world is too stressful, and sleep is just God's way of teasing us with the sweet release of death from this rat race we call life, only to snatch it away with the unbearable chimes from our iPhones. Whew, I must have just woken up when I wrote this. But it doesn't have to be this way. What if there was a way to use science to have good naps? Turns out you now have the information to avoid this predictable scourge. Here's what one should do. Plan your nap for either 30 minutes or less. Cat naps have been shown to produce a marked increase in one's ability to focus and retain new information for several hours. Or plan your nap for about 90 minutes, allowing yourself to wake up naturally. Why these numbers? Because stage 3/4 sleep cycle starts at about the 30-minute mark, and this is the last place you want to wake up from. But if you have the full 90 minutes to come through the entire cycle, then you can naturally emerge from stage 3 or 4 fully integrated back into your waking brain state. But wait, there's more. Let's say you're going to set an alarm for the next morning. How long should you set it for? The short answer is in 90-minute intervals, either 90 minutes, 3 hours, 4.5 hours, 6 hours, 7.5 hours, or 9 hours. Note, sleeping longer than what is appropriate for your body is actually as problematic as not sleeping enough. That's true. Think of it like eating. Too little and too much are both bad, but in different ways. If your alarm is set in the middle of a cycle, for example, the 7-hour mark, you may wake up feeling worse than if you had only slept for 6 hours, because that would naturally culminate in the sleep cycle you were on. The 6-hour one would be the culmination of a cycle. 7-hour, you'd be right in the middle, not very good. Waking up tired, note, doesn't mean that you didn't sleep enough. It just means that your brain is still firing back up. You should assess the quality of your sleep later in the day when you've been up for a while. In fact, there are some fascinating apps out there that can actually monitor your sleep cycle based off of your movements while sleeping and deliberately wake you up at the end of a sleep cycle. I don't have an app to recommend for you. I'm sure you could find one. They're probably getting pretty advanced at this point. These are pretty cool and are great for people who have a hard time falling asleep, so doing sleepy math is less helpful for planning their alarm. I'll wrap up the info on sleep cycle strategy here with one final point. 90-minute cycles are the average. Yours may be slightly longer or shorter, so it's worth it to experiment a bit. The apps may be able to tell you, but if you can fall asleep quickly and then check your clock upon awakening, you'll start noticing patterns. So let's move on to sleep hygiene, the reason why you're here in the first place. Sleep hygiene is the cumulative bulk of helpful techniques to ensure that your quality of sleep is high as well as your ease of getting there. These techniques can also be modified slightly to aid in lucid dreaming. Have I mentioned lucid dreaming is the coolest thing in the universe yet? I'm sure that's why you're here. I will now list many things that you should strive to do, as many of as possible to help your sleep quality. Number 1, set a routine. The mind works through associations. Sleep is a complex pattern of dropping the body into a deep state of inner focus and restoration, so the more things we can do to cue the body into sleep, the better. Try to set up a bedtime routine that you follow religiously, changing to whatever clothes you sleep in as early as an hour before bed, or if you sleep naked, then at least change out of your daytime clothes into something comfortable. Brush your teeth, floss, oil pull. If you haven't heard of that, look it up. It's amazing. Set your outfit for the next day. Make a to-do list for the next day. Anything you can do to make your next morning as easy and efficient as possible. By doing these things daily, your mind and body will start to think, oh, I'm doing nighttime stuff. I better start preparing for sleep. Number 2, unplug. Try to avoid any technology for at least an hour before bed. Ha, good luck. TV, computer, phone, long-winded emails about sleep, etc. The reason for this is threefold. 1, information is inherently stimulating, and the mind has more trouble unwinding if it has recently been given food for thought. So no more Twitter fights before bed, people. But YouTube fights are fine, because I do those. The light from screens actually upsets our melatonin production, which is crucial for a healthy body and brain. There are some apps that will diminish the blue light from your tech, which is the wavelength most responsible for stimulation. So if you have to use it, try to activate a night shift function. iPhones have this available on the down swipe screen that you would use to deactivate screen rotation or airplane mode. So most tech probably has this at this point. Night shift, it kind of gives you this cool orangish vibe to your screen, and that can help, but no screens is better. Reading things from social media that can be emotionally stimulating. Who'd have thought that would be the case? And that can keep people up at night thinking about the world and its woes. It's okay to let the world go at night. It really is. We will all be more effective agents of peace if we can rest fully and wake up refreshed. So if you're fighting battles every day through your keyboard, try getting some sleep. You might sway some minds a little bit better. Number 3, isolate your sleep space. Try to keep your room as purely associated to sleep as possible. Don't do anything in your room that doesn't inherently relate to sleep, or the other fun thing that we all know we're going to do in our beds. As mentioned earlier, our mind works through association. You want to be able to walk into your room and immediately feel sleepy. Eventually, if you are disciplined, this will happen. Note, I don't have the ability to do this as my room also necessarily functions as a personal study space. So I built a partition between my bed and the rest of the room that I draw closed when I go to sleep, thereby creating what I've dubbed the dream cave. Even more so, in my old place, I actually slept in the closet. That's actually what I'm doing now. It was dark, isolated, quiet, and freed up lots of floor space. Get creative. That's a great, if you have the space for that, to have your bed fully isolated from the rest of your room, it's an amazing thing. It's like this little chamber you get to crawl into, and you just basically teleport into another dimension. it's super rad. But I understand space is limited, life is expensive, and you can only do so much. Isolate your sleep space. Oh, we just did that one, didn't we? Meditate and gratitude practice. Sleep is essentially a compulsive meditation practice. So if you don't do it, it's going to happen anyway. So it makes sense that starting the process right will aid the brain's ability to shift into deeper layers of activity. If you can meditate for about 10 minutes or so before falling asleep, you will find falling asleep to be easier. And of course, there's the 10,000 other benefits of meditation that we could talk about. It didn't take long for me to plug meditation, did it? Usually doesn't. After meditating, I personally like to go through my whole day and reflect on my favorite aspects of it just before I pass out. It feels good to remember so many happy moments throughout the day, and it serves as yet another anchor to fall asleep. I've gotten to the point where I usually can't even finish remembering my day without slipping into sleep. That was a fun chunk of time where that was the case. Note, starting your day with meditation is just as wonderful. Ever stub your toe just getting out of bed or read a troubling text message? Both are bad, and it throws off the rest of the day. Meditation and gratitude are the inoculation to that. Try it before you do literally anything else. Don't even get out of bed. Just sit up, focus on your breath for a few minutes. The rest of your day will likely go better. Light snacking. Turns out that eating a small amount of food can actually help facilitate snooze activation. Many different foods can help, usually by stimulating melatonin, insulin, and other metabolic processes that will slow the body down. Feel free to experiment, just remember that it only takes a little. Number 6, setting anchors. Oh, here we go for that. More associations, having a certain tea before bed, using a certain essential oil, petting your cat, massaging your feet, or finding someone to do it for you. There's a trick. Legs up the wall, doing some light yoga. Avoid deep twists and back bends. These can be stimulating. A little yogi science there for you. Whatever other chill things that have a distinct sensory experience, these all signals to the brain sleep is nigh. Those work very well. Avoid alcohol or caffeine, just in general. Both of these substances inhibit sleep quality. Basically, the less the better, but if you're going to partake, try to ingest early in the day. But if it's alcohol, not too early, or you might get a talking to from people who really care about you. Note, there's really no good time to drink heavily. The body on average can only really fully process one drink per every few hours, and the sugar and carbs in alcoholic beverages can have an adverse effect on its functions as well. While some may argue that a glass of wine at night can help promote quality of sleep, this may be more related to relaxation, which can be achieved in other ways. I don't know if you're much of a drinker, but know that regular alcohol consumption and high quality sleep are almost always antithetical. But play with that. Number 8, limit naps to short cat naps. If you need to nap, opting for shorter ones will help avoid that I can't fall asleep feeling later that night. Of course, if you need a longer one, it won't kill you, but if you can tolerate shorter naps, I'd go for that. Number 9, daily exercise, getting your heart rate up, deep breathing, full range of motion, light muscle breakdown. All of these things done daily will help sleep quality. Yoga every day is the easiest way that I know to get all of these things in one swoop. And it works. Number 10, adequate sunlight during the day. I got plenty of time. Ever spend a long time in the sun and then feel sleepy after? Your body's melatonin production is directly linked to adequate sunlight each day, as is vitamin D production, in case you haven't heard. As for us melanin-challenged folks, aka white people, we don't need much, maybe 20 minutes a day of direct sunlight on our larger surface areas, belly, back, and thighs. Any more than that is more for tanning purposes. If your skin is darker, then a bit more time outside will be called for, as you have natural sunblock to resist the sun's harsh rays. And I often wish that I had that. Cool temperatures, number 11. People tend to sleep better in cooler environments. This is especially true for me. If you live in a temperature-controlled space, set your temperature to a level that is just slightly too cold for you to remain comfortable without a blanket. Of course, this is totally subjective and will take some experimenting. Number 12, regularity is key in many things, especially this. Having consistent bedtime cycles will dramatically improve your sleep quality. The more the brain can adequately predict what's going to happen next, the better it is at achieving its goals. Try to be out at roughly the same time each night and up at roughly the same time each morning. Even if you don't have to get up, if you can do it anyway, then your body will actually thank you over the long run. But sleep in if you got to, man. I know how it is. If you're not tired, don't try to make yourself sleep. If you find yourself unable to fall asleep within about 20 minutes and you're just laying there wide awake, get up and go to a different, preferably dark room. Do something soothing, reading, artwork, crafting, any other sleep hygiene tricks that you may have opted out of earlier in the night. Go for early. The brain and the body have optimum times for certain types of restoration. This is very interesting. For example, the liver is often very active around midnight, and it's helpful to be asleep so that your body and mind can give it the full attention it deserves. There are many metabolic processes that are optimized during sleep, so a good rule of thumb is to be out before 11 a.m. This means unplugged and changed for bed by 10 p.m. and spending that next hour getting yourself warmed up for exercise as opposed to exercise. Some people's lifestyles don't allow for early bedtimes, and in those circumstances, one may be perpetually plagued with sleep trouble. If you're one of these people, a structural change may be called for. Supplements. I haven't experimented much with supplements, but there are a lot advertised as helping with sleep quality. Muscle relaxers, melatonin boosters, etc. Do some research, but be skeptical, read reviews, and learn about the placebo effect. Sleep disorders are among the most prevalent in our culture, and there is a lot of money to be made from companies who can persuade us to buy their products. Honestly, if you do most things in this email, you won't need any supplements, but feel free. In conclusion, life seems to be an endless puzzle to figure out how to be as consistently comfortable as possible. Our exercise routines, our posture, our diets, our sleep, our ideal relationship styles, etc. All of these things aid each other. If one can find a sense of rhythm and balance, life becomes a beautiful unfolding of deeper and more profound levels of joy and connectivity rather than a struggle to make it, only to fall back into unhealthy patterns at regular intervals. With discipline and motivation, we can achieve any level of health we want. Sleep is 1/3 of our life, at least. It is a sacred and crucial time for integrating the last day and preparing for the next day. We can really feel one bad night, and the vibrancy of a well-rested body is truly remarkable. Best high ever. We might as well treat this process at least as well as anything else we do. I hope that this info has been helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions about anything else that I've written here. I'm always happy to share the knowledge I picked up along the way to help all humans live the best life that they can. If you know anyone else who has trouble sleeping, feel free to share this email or this PDF or this video and connect them with me. Sleep health is an integral part of my personal mission in life. The world needs to learn to chill, and there are proven ways to do it. Now you know many of them. Sweet dreams. So that's the text. It's all down in the description below if you want it. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your focus. I appreciate your listening. And yeah, be on the lookout for more wacky videos on sleep, psychology, meditation, lucid dreaming, and all that good stuff. Thank you. I'll see you next time.